Hey, welcome to Non-Perishable Goods Podcast. We are so glad that you are here and you are choosing to take the time out of your day to listen to what we have to say. In today's topic, I think we're gonna hit Elon Musk and DOGE and how he's handling cutting spending and departments and federal agencies within our federal government, just different agencies that keep our country rocking and rolling. But Democrats and Republicans, their philosophies on how they want to handle spending in our country. Like you hear so many people, fiscal Republicans or fiscal, people that are interested about spending and the budget and deficits and debt. Trump, he created an executive, or he used an executive order to create this DOGE department. And I personally think, like, just off top for them calling the department DOGE, which is Department of Government Efficiency, but it's also, that crypto coin DOGE. So it's kind of like, is he even taking this seriously? Like, are they just having fun with, running the world? Because, like we said before, America has to be a stable economy to keep the global economy running.
Yeah, I don't even think that crossed his mind. I mean, I heard him bring it up one time, and he just talked about it real quick. It just happens to be the same acronym, the same spelling.
I mean, we could believe that. I mean, it's whatever. I don't know, but it's definitely like a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. But
I mean, you guys conspiracy share. What you think? What's going on?
no, it's no conspiracy. It's just I feel like he's just doesn't take this that seriously, you
Do
know?
you feel that way
Or he
because
thinks it's cute, or he thinks it's cute. Let's just say that. Elon probably thinks it's really cute to have this, initiative or this watchdog or spending this department that's overseeing what we're spending in America. Because you hear people
so
all
we
the time talking about it. Oh, we got to balance the debt. We got to the budgets and spending. And go ahead.
I got two theories. One, I think once you're out of debt, it gives America more focus on taking care of America and not being in debt to other countries because we owe other countries money. On the flip side, on the other side, this could be just an distraction to the American people to show that uh, Trump is being sufficient and efficient, and to his words, word when he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. He says he's going to alleviate, he's going to cut down taxes, or he's going to get us out of debt, or he's going to alleviate the crazy spending that doesn't need to be spent. That's why he's showcasing so much of every time they've Doge found something, and then you got you know what's her name, Carolyn and Paula Bond, talking so big about his accomplishments. You know what I'm saying? So
But okay,
it's two things. It's the good side and the well, they're both, I guess, kind of good, but it's more about like a distraction for us to focus on the good that Trump is doing.
yeah, but the thing is with Doge, like Elon, he set out to cut 2 trillion from the budget, and he only cut 160 billion from the budget or from our spending. Like he
But
cut,
you say only like that's like a small thing.
okay, so look, our debt, we're $34 trillion in debt.
But
And
even in a small scale, doesn't isn't that a good thing that we save some money regardless? I
yeah,
mean, billion is not nothing to snuff at.
I mean, it's not, it's helpful, but we
Why are
spent,
you so apprehensive about this?
no, I'm not. Like, I'm all for
You're
five,
kind of like, oh, we only say he only saved us a few billion,
well, because,
so he didn't meet his goal.
well,
You
it's,
know what I mean?
yeah, no, he didn't because I mean, I think he tried, but he did get a lot of resistance.
Okay, that's fair.
With different, agencies, but you can't just come in with like a hatchet and just cut everything.
Their chainsaw.
Yeah, exactly. He had a chainsaw. Like that's goofy. Like to me, he's just a goofy guy, and I don't know how serious he is.
Seems pretty serious if you leave your business and you're taking all these hits from your other business to do something for America. I think that's commendable. It's not lasting. I mean, he has to go back to his
Yeah.
business.
Well,
So I find it commendable. I don't think I think it was a shock to the system as Americans because of how he went about it, and he got a lot of flack for that. But I do believe he made some mistakes, but that's you know doing something big like that, it's not gonna flow. And because he's the way he is, um, he's probably not picking up on like human cues because he's just like a billionaire, weirdo
well, they say he's a great visionary.
on on the spectrum.
Yeah,
But
he's a great visionary and
yeah,
he
he made it I mean, SpaceX, Tesla, they're successful, whether they hate it now or whatever, you still got, Dems and lefties buying Teslas because they want to save the planet. I mean, he did a good thing. It's just this this hit us so hard, you just got kickback, and plus, he's working with Trump, and half of America doesn't like Trump, so whatever Trump does and Elon does now they need a villain. Dems need villains, so
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, he did streamline a lot of things but he is a villain because the way that he went about it, like, with the chainsaw, just firing people, giving people the option to
retire early.
retire, take a payout,
Hmm.
which other people in the past, like Bill Clinton, he did this before. Like
Hmm.
he cut, I think, like 200,000 employees, and Elon is cutting like 275,000 employees. So this is
Right.
that unprecedented. It's happened before, but when Clinton went about it, he didn't just like go in there and hatchet and cut everything up. He actually took the time and asked and talked to people and what to actually, what if we cut this department? Because I guess there's agencies, but there's a lot of departments within the agencies. And,
Yeah.
he like ask people, if we cut this, will this hurt this? Or, he cut like administration and not full on departments like Elon has done and kind of was like, oh, shoot, we just cut E. coli or Ebola research or, whatever he cut. And then they found out that was a mistake and then they reinstated it. So they were just going about it absolutely wrong. So yes, it's commendable that he left his jobs, but he and plus he was a special government agent. So he only has 130 days a year he could work as this, in this position. So he might come back next year, but I think his last day is like May 31st. So he had to move quickly. And he thinks he's so intelligent. And he brought all these, questionable people along with him to do this.
Who are credited in what they do. They have legit backgrounds.
Yeah, everybody, but they weren't, but he could have went about that better. He could have had them investigated, vetted, and did background checks, but he didn't do all that and was giving them access to all of our private information and data.
Who says he didn't do that? Is that?
Oh,
Is it?
it's factual. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why it's so
What's factual from what source?
there's multiple sources. Like, I mean, I don't have the actual name, but there's
As
multiple
it, I
that's
got another
reporting
question.
this. That's reporting this. So,
Is it possible that a big project like this is gonna go fluently, regardless if you did your research, did your homework, trying to alleviate the bloat, the what do you call it, the bloat of like businesses, trying to get out the stuff that we don't need. Is it doing a process like that? Is it ever going to be smooth?
I mean, it could have been smoother. That's all I'm saying. Like,
I'm saying could it, but does it? It happens though, right? Like you're going to hit some snags. It's never going to be smooth.
but
People are
it's
going to get mad. There's always going to be somebody
yeah,
who doesn't
absolutely.
doesn't accept what's going on.
Absolutely, but there is a way in an order of doing things, and he didn't do it in any order or fashion. And I mean, you're locking people out of, you're like creating hostility within people in departments. You have to work with people because, DOGE, even though he's leaving, DOGE is an initiative that's still in place.
Yeah.
Like there's still people that a part of that's like some ladies like running DOGE right now. And, they didn't go about it properly and they're stealing hard drives, they're locking people,
What's properly?
like locking senators out. Like that's not proper. Like they didn't allow
Do
they
those senators have the right to be in there?
they're senators. Why wouldn't they?
Why do they need to be there?
Well, why would he's not an elected official. He was just appointed to do a job. So I feel
I thought you said this was an executive order.
yeah, that's an executive order. That's
It
not
doesn't it
he's
doesn't
not an elected
bypass?
official. He's not an elected.
Right.
So, I mean, in that case, I feel like a elected official that people in America have elected to office, they would have more of a hierarchy or a higher level than him. So they should have let him in. Like that's all I'm saying. They should have let him in. And I'm let me say this too. Like I'm not against them going into our government and getting rid of the bloat or the bureaucracy or the red tape or some of the agencies, but that's just the whole thing about Republicans. They believe in small government. They believe in, cutting spending for departments that are helping, like you were saying, other countries and entitlement programs, where that's, the SNAP benefits, the Medicaid, Medicare, they even want to touch Social Security. But these are all things that people rely on. Working Americans rely on a lot of these programs. That's, the elderly, that's veterans, that's the disabled, the low income folks in our society. So, they're all being targeted. Like those are the things that Republicans come for. Like it's just their philosophy, their theory, their ideology, whatever you want to call it. Like those are the things that they're targeting. And now that they have like Congress, they have, Trump, they have the Supreme Court. This is like they're just so conservatives are so excited that they have this opportunity to change our government, like
Did
for
Bush ever touch
nation.
Medicaid?
I don't know all the specifics of what certain presidents did, but I'm sure he did. Yes, that's the thing that they go after entitlements. That's what they call it. And Democrats, they usually go after to because this is all budget talk. So what they do to try to balance the budget is they impose taxes on the more wealthy individuals in our society.
They impose taxes?
Yeah, like they'll, make sure that the wealthy pay their fair share.
Yeah.
Like you hear that all the time. So that is so basically like balancing the budget. It's really like it's so annoying kind of. It's a back and forth. Like, some one group that's in power will do all their executive orders or create legislation to, get what they want out of society. And the other people are basically like the direct opposite, the opposition. They constantly oppose each other in what they want out of our society. And
They both want money though.
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, they'll do whatever they can to get money. One side fear mongers, the other side creates the fear.
But I mean,
Dems like race bait. They use race. They use social. Uh, what do you call it? Like analytics and fear mongering to get the people riled up. And then the Republicans are all about taking away from the regular people. So it's like, what do? You ping pong. We're like in the middle of these two gods who are like fighting over us while we're like, struggling, scraggling for scraps.
yeah, I mean, and that's where we have, because like nobody's really wrong about how they help people. But you have to, like, the way you have to vote for those in power at this point is just what you believe in. Do you believe that if you fall on hard times, you receive help? Or do you believe in, oh, if you fall on hard times, then you need to do your best and make it happen for yourself, you know?
Yeah, I've found on hard times during the Bush administration, and I got my unemployment. I lived off of that for 6 months. You know, so
So, and that those are the types of things Republicans want to get rid of, or they want to impose limitations on it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but
okay,
there should be limitations because people abuse these programs, right?
yeah.
So
So
that
I
sucks.
get it. I get that part. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think any Republican has fully taken away anything as far as free Medicare or unemployment or 401(k) or blah 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 blah. I think every
and they
administration
can't.
has their pros and flaws, but it's just there has to be limitations because they're humans abuse. Take give an inch, take a mile. Wait, is that
Yeah.
what it is?
Yeah.
Is
No, it
that the
is. Give
say?
them an inch, they take a mile. It's true.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why, you know, people, but I don't know, everybody has their demons. I don't know how else to
What
say
you
it.
mean?
Like everybody, like, I mean, for me personally, I am not a thief. I don't steal, I don't scam, I don't have those kind of struggles. But I don't try to like put somebody down to get ahead or I'm just not that kind of person, but there's a lot of people that are that kind of person who, who will take advantage of the system and that's why I think a lot of conservatives have a problem with entitlement programs because I think that people are just living off of the system. Like today, Trump, I believe he did an executive order to get rid of Section 8 housing. So, I mean, what's that? That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing for the people that receive Section 8 benefits to live. And for those who offer rental assistance, who gets a for sure check from the government.
But
Like,
is he getting rid of it and adding something or
see,
putting something in his place, or is he getting rid of it and replace what much I said that already. Is he like limiting the program?
well, I mean, I think it depends, but like with a lot of the things he says, he has a concept of a plan. So they have not on a lot of these things. That's my biggest problem. That's what I'm trying to find out. So you get rid of this, what's going to take care of what's going to supplement that? And
Right.
so the whole Republican ideal is they feel that government is less efficient than private businesses. So I think some of these things they want businesses to handle or private organizations to handle. They want as little government involvement in our society as possible. So that's their idea, but nobody stepped up to say, help out with housing for low income people, you know?
Like like HUD, like we need to rely on
They want the state.
HUD.
No, HUD is
Yeah, like the state should be taking care of the people.
right,
Yeah.
but I mean states, I mean California, we're in a good situation. We're fourth in the GDP of the world, or yeah, in the world. But states like maybe, I don't know, Alabama or Arkansas, some of the other states, they don't have the kind of income that we have. They don't have the kind of economy that we have here in California. So if they're hit by a disaster, they don't necessarily have the funding for it. Like state budgets are a lot less. They don't have it's a lot less to balance than a federal budget. And so that's why a lot of states do need federal assistance. And by our federal government cutting all of these programs, a lot of the red states that support Trump are going to suffer the worst
How?
because they don't have money. They don't have their states do not have the money to fund the things that the federal government helps them with. Like disaster recovery. That's when, states call on FEMA to come in. They just cut FEMA or they're trying to cut FEMA, you know? So it's really kind of crazy what's happening.
But when a disaster does happen and they require or they request government aid, it most likely it'll come, right?
Not anymore. They don't want to. Trump already, there's been like I guess we're in hurricane season or, I can't think of Sarah Huckabee. Sarah Huckabee, the governor. I think she's the governor of Arkansas. They had a natural disaster recently, and she's a Republican, and he didn't give her any federal assistance. They're making sure that all the states do it on their own. So it's gonna be a problem. Like just when shit hits the fan, it's really gonna hit. And a lot of Trump supporters are going to, and that's also a reason why I don't it's political. Like it's really a political blow if they come after a lot of these programs like Medicaid, Social Security, and all that. A lot of people don't try to touch those too much because it affects a lot of people in our country. I don't think people realize how many people need help. Like, especially with our economy being so terrible at this point, because of the uncertainty of, if there's going to be jobs or, the cost of living has gone way up, the cost of food and goods and everything's about to go up. It's just,
Inflation.
yeah, inflation's up. So, like, if you're getting rid of these programs and then there's also no jobs that are paying livable wages, what's supposed to happen? Like how are you supposed to do better for yourself when there's no good jobs available?
Isn't it kind of too early to say, I guess, pinpoint all of this when it's only been what, over 100 days?
Yeah, and a lot has happened. He's gotten rid of so much in 100 days. Like they're saying that's why a lot of his or conservatives or whatever are so happy because he has nobody has moved this fast ever and got this much done in 100 days. Like he really has gone crazy with the executive orders. I think he's done like 134 executive orders, which is like the most any president has ever done in such a short term. So, and like there, if he keeps it going, like he's on pace to, I don't know, just go crazy.
What's crazy? Like, what do you
Like,
think is going to happen next?
I mean, he's just gonna keep on throwing out executive orders. Who knows what's next? Well, actually, we do know what's next. Whatever, everything, and this is another thing that is really kind of deceitful, is that they said that Project 2025 wasn't real. He said he didn't support Project
Yeah,
2025.
he didn't say it wasn't real. He said he just didn't support it.
Right. Okay. That, correct. That's true. But everything that they're doing is in the playbook of the mandate for leadership which is known as Project 2025. So, and even Russell Vaught, the guy who wrote Project 2025, is like
Mhm.
one of the major guys in Trump's um
Cabinet?
he's not
Is it cabinet?
I don't think he's in the cabinet, but he's definitely in the government or he's in the federal government. He's got a high position, but he wrote the mandate for leadership. And he's a Christian nationalist, so he's imposing a lot of the Christian values on America right now. And but then not helping the poor or the vulnerable and the less fortunate in our society, that's Christian. That's not Christian values by not helping them. But then in the Bible, there also is, stuff about, being lazy and not working as well, and like Proverbs. So I don't know. It all depends, I think. Because you know me, I always come from like a spiritual perspective to form my understanding of how I want to navigate the earth. But I also believe in trying to be a peacemaker and allowing civil society to thrive. Like I believe in civility. And as a Christian, there's a lot of scriptures that say we should um, you know, allow things to happen so that we could live in harmony and peace and live civilly. Like we shouldn't impose our faith on others.
Wait, there's a line that says you shouldn't impose your religion on other people.
Mm-hmm.
So why do people do it then? Why do Christians do it?
Because they don't read the Bible, or they use a lot of people don't like Christianity because they feel that they've twisted a lot of the things that are in the Bible to like colonize and oppress
To
people.
fit their agenda, whatever their
Yeah,
agenda is.
exactly. So that's just how that is, unfortunately.
But there's a lot of things that this administration want to do but can't do, and feel like they have good intentions, but to us, because we see differently, it doesn't seem that way.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. And because a lot of people in America, because I think the fastest growing religion in America right now is a faith called none, where they don't believe in anything,
Oh, it's like none of your business.
basically, None. So
Ain't no he is ain't no nan.
yeah. So it's like, how can you make a non-believer believe in what you believe? You know?
Well, I've seen some stories where atheists became religious, so it's possible.
Yeah, it's
Anything
possible.
is possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
And people, it's like Tina Turner went from Baptist to Buddhist, You know what I mean? It's like she did her homework and she got influenced. Time goes by, you know what I'm saying? You live with your family, you usually do what your family does, and then you go out and see the world and you get a new perspective on life. And now, you're worshiping, a totally different God. So it's like, people have their own life paths to go.
Right. And everybody should have that freedom. And based on our Constitution, we have freedom of religion. So we shouldn't impose Christianity on the country because they say that it was founded by Christians, but that's not necessarily true. It was like a lot of agnostics and atheists and just people who tried to think about a lot of these things, but they believe that, a person of uh Islam, could believe what they want and practice it here. Buddhists could practice whatever they want. Like,
Yeah.
so, but what's coming from the Project 2025 playbook is that they're going to make everyone like pray and, pledge of allegiance again in schools, which is fine.
Yeah, I
And
don't mind that. I did that. It's not like it's not like I'm a religious just because I did that in my schools. I think there needs to be more of an appreciation for America and where we live, because I feel like we've not traveled, just I'm trying to say.
people do love America. Nobody's
I
hating.
don't think so. Yeah, and not the protests I see in colleges and stuff. I don't think so. We
So what did you see?
walked away. We've like the when they did the mass deportations or whatever, if you're going to protest that, but you have your flag up, but you live in America. So if you're so prominent about your country, then why don't you go back to your country? Like, why are you here if you're not for America? There's that. There's a lot of
Well, but based
just
on
because they hate Trump, the left hates Trump. Now it seems like they hate America. There's also the rhetoric of, um, I've only seen this a few times on TikTok, but they'll say, if I see an American flag on your car or whatever, I automatically hate you. And that's just wild to me. Just because, that's they associate the American flag with Trump. I'm like,
yeah, because
like what?
they took that like how they took woke.
Yeah, because we
Like,
well not woke, but we want to put America first. We want America to thrive. What's
yeah,
wrong with that?
but it's not going to thrive by not helping the people, like by not helping working class and lower, income folks. And just helping the ultra rich. That's not helping majority of
But
Americans.
when have the rich not been helped?
The
Like
what?
they're always got the upper hand because they're rich. I mean, that's always going to be a thing.
Right. And there's
Tax cuts or not, paying off, this guy or that guy or whoever. I mean, that's just how it is, right? But we have to focus on our budget, right? Our 50K a year to 100K a year. What's the president gonna do for us? We have to like stop thinking about like who cares about the rich? 'Cause we're not the rich. They're gonna get their cuts. They get the right to drive in new Bugattis. I'm driving in my Honda Fit. Is that fair? Maybe, maybe not. They got trust fund babies. I gotta live off of my 401K and my retirement. Is that fair? Like we gotta worry about like us. What's
Yeah,
what's
but
Trump
if
gonna
your
do for
government,
us?
right, and
Because the rich people
doing
actually
anything.
who are
He's not
running
doing anything
business,
for us. He's not.
the rich people who got the businesses are employing us, right? Like my boss, like her brother works for security for Elon, right? That's Elon giving that man a job so he can take care of his family.
What's he getting
Whoever,
paid?
whoever on, yeah, he's getting paid. He loves that man.
Is he
He's
getting
he's
paid
chilling.
well? as long as
What's well though? Like what now?
can
Now
he
we're
pay
talking
for
about
house? Can he
greed.
pay for his rent?
Yeah, he's got kids going to school. Everybody's eating. Everybody's unfortunately fat. You know what I'm saying? Like they living. Yeah. What do you
No, I'm just
mean?
asking. That's what I'm
Yeah.
asking.
Okay.
Make
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
because a lot of I mean Trump hasn't paid a lot of his contractors. He doesn't do good business with them. Elon's business practices are questioned. He
What
makes
if
people
what
work
if that
like
story
80-hour
is
days.
what if
And
that story is that those contractors didn't do their job?
but that's not the story. That's the story for every single contractor. Stop it. It's not like every he hasn't it's just known that as a lot of contractors in New York did a lot of projects for Trump and he did not pay them.
Mm.
Trump, he is a terrible businessman. I don't care what anybody says. He doesn't take care of his employees. He turns on his closest people. Like it's just documented.
What makes him a terrible businessman if his Trump towers are still up? It's not a failed. That's not a failed hotel. So what makes
But
him
but
a
his
horrible
how do you
businessman?
bankrupt a casino?
Because
People
nobody goes.
Right.
That's how.
I went to his Taj Mahal. I went to Atlantic City with my
Yeah,
parents some years ago, and we went to hit the whatever casinos he had out there, and they
yeah.
were trash. They were just raggedy. So he does start a lot of things, but I don't think he executes it very well. Like he doesn't maintain it very well. Like I mean, and maybe some of his more of his real estate. And I heard a lot of the things he just puts his name on things and other people run it. So
Yeah, that's how you do it.
right, but that's not necessarily him
Mhm.
actually day-to-day operations of a business. So those kind of businesses are probably still running. Um, but yeah, so back to Elon, I wanted to say what were you saying about dang, we went on a total different tangent about your people that were working for him and they were taking care of him and the rich people. What were we saying about? I'm really trying to remember right now. Like
Oh,
rich.
you have
Oh,
something?
you were saying like rich people, we shouldn't worry about the rich people. Is that what you were kind of saying? Like
We shouldn't worry about what they're doing because they keep us employed.
oh, that's what it was. So I don't, what year was it? Okay, we're in 2025. So the whole trickle down economics thing, make sure that the corporations are happy and not being taxed and no high capital gains so they can they'll reinvest in the company and reinvest in the employees, give the employees, bonuses perhaps would be lovely, would be nice because they've made
Or
um
keep them employed and able to have a job and benefits.
yeah, that
Yeah, just to be happy to have a job.
or
Yeah.
even get, livable raises and
Yeah, you ask for a raise or,
yeah, but that's
benefits.
not happening. That's the thing. That it's statistical. Like they made so much money,
Who's they?
the corporations and the wealthy,
Yeah.
it made so much money that they didn't trickle down. They didn't invest anything here in the working class, in the people. All they did was like reinvest in their stocks or, what do they call it? Divest. No, not divest. But they,
Not that percent.
yeah, they were in the black. Like they made so much money and they just paid their CEOs like all that money. It didn't go to the working class. So,
Yeah.
so for most people, for most companies, that's what happened. But I'm sure there are some cases where corporations did give back to their people. So
Yeah.
it's not happening like that. It's just not.
I think it is happening. Like when Chase was needed a bailout, and I thought my thinking on that. You remember that, right?
Yeah, but why are we gonna bail out the banks and not give handouts to like low income folks? Like it's the same
My
thing. It's
my
the
thought
same thing.
exactly. My thought exactly. But I had another perspective that was shown to me was how many people do those banks employ? So now that we bailed them out, those employed are still employed. they get to keep their jobs. Instead of thinking the other way, while we bailed these banks out, we were able to not only bail them out and keep, our savings in there and keep our accounts going, but we also saved how many jobs? Like a couple thousand, right? More than 1,000, right? I think that's a good thing.
No, it is a good thing, but when the CEOs of the company are getting like millions, a
That's
hundred,
how it is, though. That's how business runs, though.
but 100 million to one
What
person,
can we
to
what
one
can we do?
CEO, and you can't give your employee
What can we do,
you can't wait,
Stace?
listen, you can't give your 1,000 employees like $3 more an
What
hour.
can we do? What can we do?
I mean, you can't do much,
Can't
but
do nothing.
but you're not gonna get ahead. You're not gonna ever.
You can get a second job depending on what you want to do. There's always side hustles. Not all of us are going
But
to
who wants
run a
to?
business. Not all of us are going to make 100K.
Right,
Not
but
all of us are gonna win. That's just how life is.
yeah,
There's
but it
always somebody who's gonna do better than you.
yeah, because of
We
people's
work for
will
those
and
people.
ability. Yes, for people who have more will and ability and ambition than
But
others.
one of those people who are employed by that CEO who's taking all the money and not giving their employee raises, maybe that one employee goes on YouTube and starts a channel and gets crazy subs in 6 to 8 months to a year. Now he or she has a side job and used to work for Chase.
But what about
You
the
know what I
quality
mean?
of life? What about the quality of life? That's not important anymore. Like we just got to work all
What do you
day
mean the
long.
quality of life? Yeah, some of us do. I know
Like, we
somebody
have to
who's
work
worked
16-hour
worked his
days.
whole life and
Does he
never
have a
spent a
family? Does he have
dime.
kids? Does he have a family and kids?
He took care of his parents.
He doesn't have a family and kids. So like if we're talking if conservatives are talking about, oh, we need to have the nuclear family, the trad wife, the traditional lives, gender roles, um, if parents are at work
Gender
16
roles.
hours a day,
Mhm.
how are you going to spend time with your family? So it just doesn't work that way. It doesn't.
But that's not. But that's been an issue since the beginning of jobs and the nuclear family.
Well, so
That
CEOs,
happened. That
so
happened to
if
me, to
CEOs
my
were
family.
right, if CEOs were decent people, then maybe they would give their
What's decent?
employees.
What
Listen,
rich
listen, this is
person
what
is?
decent. This is decent. This would be decent to give your employees that works for you 8 hours a day,
Now we're talking to social
two to
ethics now,
two to
or
three
business
dollars an
business
hour,
ethics.
$2 to $3 an hour more, so they
Yeah,
don't have to work another night job
yeah.
to make a little bit more money, and they would be more productive with you 8 hours a day because they wouldn't be sleepy and tired because they had to go work another
No, this is
job.
now you're just doing like business ethics. If Stacey, if you run a business, I know you run a business, and you were like losing money, are you gonna try to keep your employees, or are you gonna have to fire some so you can live your lifestyle, so you can keep keep you paid, keep you clothed, take care of your family. You come first, right?
Well, some CEOs, I'm sure the last thing, I mean the first, I don't know if it's the last or the first, but I feel like the first thing that they do cut is the labor force. They lay off.
Yeah. This is life.
Right.
That's
But
life.
that's why we need the federal government. And that's why we need the federal government to not cut these programs. That's it. Like they can't cut.
Did we just come first, though?
We did.
We just come first.
But it's so true, It's true. Like we
I
can't,
mean, I agree, but no, ain't no buts, no buts. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah,
sure,
if the private people are losing money, which they are not, they have been operating in the black for multiple years, and that's why the gap, the inequality gap is huge.
sure. Look at the gaming industry. The gaming industry right now is getting destroyed. Like the developers are losing their jobs. Journalists are losing their jobs because nobody's buying newspapers. It's it's a war. It's a job war right now.
Okay, so with that in mind, and we're cutting we're cutting programs that will help people in tough times. What's supposed to happen if there's no jobs?
Well, I haven't seen that. I mean, when you say like federal, you mean like unemployment? Like if I get if I get fired, I get my unemployment.
Well, I think that's through the state, but I'm just saying like SNAP benefits,
Yeah,
your health care, like
yeah.
Medicaid, I believe it's for low.
Cobra, is there Cobra? Is Cobra still there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. But so a lot of those programs are going to be gone. That would help people, say you lose your job and you get COVID or you're deathly ill and you go to the doctors and you don't have health insurance. So now you're $10,000 in debt. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
you could pay that through the hospital though. They have programs.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like if we cut that, then I
I
mean,
don't think he's gonna cut. I don't think that's gonna get cut.
well,
Put a pin on it now. I guess
yeah. There was
pin
some.
this conversation. I don't think it's gonna get cut. I don't think he's gonna cut all that. If he cuts it, it's gonna be like a limit.
Okay, so here we go. So
Okay.
the federal agencies that will be affected by these cuts is Department of Health and Human Services. Under that department, we have Centers for Disease Control, CDC,
Hmm.
the
Right.
FDA, Food and Drug Administration, the NIH, National Institutes of Health, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
But how much cut though?
Over 20,000 positions eliminated, including 10,000 layoffs and 10,000 through attrition.
Those are jobs, but that's not cutting like the people who are
But these are the people
using. Yeah,
that are servicing these programs.
right.
So if they get rid of that, they're not going to get the proper service. And if you're cutting like, dude, this is so crazy to me. If you're cutting the CDC, who's going to tell us when there's like a bird flu outbreak? Or who's going to tell us, the COVID stats or, how many people are infected, how many people got vaxxed, how many, all those wonderful graphs that we
Are
follow.
they are they are they saying what department in the CDC and in the IRS, like what parts of those are getting cut? Like, do we need those people? Do we
Um,
need like 15 people in administration?
no, I mean, but see, that's the thing. Like somebody explained it really, really well to me. So like the federal department or all the agencies are like Jenga.
Yes.
And so if you pull out a little different pieces, it's gonna all collapse. So all these little departments under these agencies, if you cut the IT or some of the engineers in this department, they support another department and it's just going to all collapse because there's no more communication or help and support in these different areas. And also this just reminded me, you know how Elon said that, oh, people like 200 and 300 years old are receiving social security checks. Do you hear about that?
Yeah.
So what happened is that
What had happened was,
yeah, they didn't understand the old antiquated COBOL programming system that the government in social security uses. That his, new guys, they call them junior engineers or IT guys. They didn't know how to use Cobalt because it's an old programming language. And so when the field doesn't have anything in the field for, I think it was like the date of death, it just puts in some kind of like, it's like a default that doesn't, uh, it's just wasn't a field that was filled out. You know what I'm saying? So basically, those people that he was referring to did not receive a check. They didn't receive a check. They weren't continuing to getting paid for 100 years. Like, I don't even think Social Security has even been around 150 years. You know what I'm saying? So like, they just didn't understand how that cobalt language was used. But if they would have taken time to talk to the people in the department, like, oh, why did this happen, instead of going straight to the president and having a press conference about it, then they would have found out that it was, it was just they didn't know how to interpret the analytics. So people weren't getting paid. Like, that's just what I'm saying. Like, he did not go about, cutting or looking for fraud, waste, and what was the other thing? I don't know. They didn't go about it. They didn't go about it properly. But that we do need people to find the bloat in our government programs, but he went about it absolutely wrong. Okay, so back to the other departments that they're cutting real quick. Department of, or, they're cutting departments within these agencies. We may not be losing these agencies completely, but they are cutting a lot of the departments within these agencies, especially if they are targeted for DEI or civil rights. Now, not to be a race baiter or whatever you want to say, but why would you specifically cut all of those departments in every agency?
Because it's a waste of time, and you should be judged on your merit, not the color of your skin.
Right. And that's
Can you
what,
do the job or not?
right. That's what DEI is. It's off of merit. It's about merit.
But
So you're saying the people,
that's not
you're
what's
saying
going
those
on then.
people, yes, but you're saying those people who were hired under DEI or whatever, they weren't qualified?
You
No,
think
no, no. Just answer
because
that question. Just answer that question. Were they
I
not
think
qualified?
I think it's possible that no, they weren't.
But how can you be a pilot and you don't have any, like, how could you be a below average pilot?
Yeah, how could you
Like,
be?
why would you even put yourself in that situation? If
Because you
you,
want a job.
come on now.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
wanted
that's what I
if
say.
you wanted a job, okay, say you wanted a job, but you have no pilot experience, you would take that job?
You think it's fair when when you give you tests, but they lower it because you're a female or because the color of your skin,
But that's
they
not
lower the
true. That's not
standards.
true. Are you talking about like people in the military? That's
I'm
not true.
talking about any field. Firemen, military,
Women
regular
have
office
to,
jobs,
they have to,
STEM, all that.
but that's not true. That's not what they're doing. Women have to compete at the
You
same.
you you are that's not what they're doing.
Mm-mm.
Okay,
That's propaganda. Like, I'm pretty positive that's propaganda. Like, why would they hire a woman who couldn't compete at the same level? Like, that's
because some of these companies, I'm sorry, you cut out. I want to hear that what you said.
I just said that's just propaganda.
Oh,
That's fear
because
mongering. Fear mongering.
some of these companies get extra incentives to hire in a quota.
Okay, that's
But
fine.
companies don't do that.
No, they do that. That's why they have Meeby Weeby certifications, like company.
What? What's it called? What?
It's minority women-owned businesses.
Yeah,
So they call it Meeby Weeby,
that's cute.
minority or women. So Meeby.
Yeah.
But so yeah, they had quotas, but people are qualified. Like, we had that certification because our company is a woman-owned company, but we were qualified. We were qualified for it just because, I mean, because DEI was
Qualified for what are you saying? Qualified for what? For
um,
maybe?
for our industry, for what we do in our industry. We were qualified for that position to get that certification. Because maybe it's a
What
certification so that companies know that you're a minority or a woman-owned business. But
and what's the incentive of that?
to have diversity in to help women, to help minorities have an opportunity to be a part, for them to hire us, like to hire
So
people of color and Black
so
people.
when you're
We're
hiring,
qualified.
and it's like two qualified people, and one's white and one's black, are you going to hire the black one more than the white one?
I mean, if there's a quota I have to make, I'll go by whatever the quota is for that company. But for me, I'm going to hire the person who is most qualified.
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
that's what diversity, equity, and
That's
inclusion
all we're
is
talking.
about.
That's all we want.
Yes, that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's merit. It's
Why
based on
is it got to be? Why is it got to be a DEI thing, an ESG score?
because people
All this.
aren't hiring black people, people
That's not
aren't
true. Every black
white
people I know
people.
has a job.
Right,
What are we talking about?
but that's not nationally. That's not nationally. If you look at websites of Fortune 500 companies or just any corporate company, most of the people on the board are white people. And you think that's because black people weren't qualified?
I think that's because some people just didn't strive to be on top of. Yeah,
No, or that just means that, if you go, let's just make it plain. If you go to a Chinese food restaurant or you go to a Mexican restaurant or a restaurant in like a black neighborhood or Indian, people hire what is in that environment. So it's people hire who's like them. So that's why you don't see. I mean, I'm not
but
saying
those are private companies and they can do whatever they want, right? Is our Fortune
right, but
500 companies private companies?
yes, that's why they have enforced or asked people to do this DEI to be, to go with DEI because it's not fair. It's not equitable. It's not equality. So
Would you ever take a job that you weren't qualified for, but they hired you just because
I wouldn't take
you're light skinned
like Pete
and a
Hegseth,
woman?
the defense secretary who has no experience managing millions of people in our
He's an idiot.
military in the Pentagon. He's not qualified.
He is an embarrassment.
Right. He shouldn't have taken that job. So,
Well, should
but that's what you just
and
asked
why
me.
not is
But that's what you just asked me. You said, would I take a job I wasn't qualified for? And I said, no, I would not. I wouldn't
yeah,
want
I
to,
would not either.
but him, he feels that he's
I
qualified.
mean, that's a a very social that looks good on the resume. I probably would have done the same thing and made worse mistakes.
Yeah, nah. I care about people too much. I would care about uh my troops.
The only thing he's affected really is his reputation. Now he just looks like an idiot.
He's also putting young men and women in harm's way daily. He's an idiot. So I don't know. So that's we'll have to definitely
Well,
do it.
that's more about ethics than anything else, ethics and morals. And I'm just fucking around. I wouldn't take that job either. But he has ego, right? So, I mean, that's a chance of a lifetime, you know? It's like me working on a movie set. I don't have any experience, but I can get experience on the job. So yeah, I'm gonna try being a grip and holding the boom mic and even doing like
But
camera
nobody's
work
gonna
and stuff like
die.
that.
Nobody's gonna die. So that's okay. That's fine. Learn on the job. But when you're the defense secretary of the Pentagon, you can't learn on the job because your one mistake could end thousands of lives.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
So
But
that's
I'm just saying if let's say yeah, if they needed to do a ESG score and they had to hire like a light skinned blazing guy and they, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll take it. to my advantage because I just learned on the job, whether I earned it or not.
Right. Well, that's fine if it's not life or death. Like, I don't see a problem with that. Um, okay, but real quick. So these are the departments he's cutting. Department of Veteran Affairs. And you know what's crazy? Trump is, I heard today that he's getting rid of Veterans Day and he's calling it Victory Day 1 and Victory Day 2 for World War I and World War II. So he's just not like what did you hear about that?
Yeah, I heard it just now.
Like, oh, okay. Well, that's like super disrespectful to the veterans. Like, why would you do that? Like, well, I think he likes winners and not remembering the dead or something. I don't know. So that's pretty harsh to our veterans who fought for our freedom. Then they're also making cuts to the Department of Education, Department of Labor, Social Security Administration, Department of Housing, Federal FEMA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. Whew, that one is killing me. And then Consumer Financial Bureau Protection, that helps a lot of us from corruption or um, corruption at the corporate levels. Internal Revenue, the CIA. What else are they getting rid of? Or funding, the federal funding for National Endowment for the Arts, the Humanities, Public Corporation for Public Broadcasting, like PBS, NPR, university research programs that does cancer research, uh, elite universities, and local nonprofits. Just terrible. Like, it's just terrible that all those things are being targeted. But hey, if it cuts costs, but that's the thing. Like I said, we're $34 trillion in debt, which isn't terrible compared to like other countries, but people need to get real. Like, we're not going to be balancing our budget or reducing our budget not for like 70 years. So, and if they tried to cut all the agent, like, dude, if we cut all the entitlement programs, um, that would be only like 7 trillion. Like, say we didn't have any more federal agencies or anything, that would be like $7 trillion. And the other thing I found out, oh, here it is, here it is, here it is. Oh, no, no, that's not it. The other thing was, because I was kind of curious, like how much money does the government bring in? And it is like from our taxes and everything, like because we fund the federal government, and that's why everybody's always talking about, oh, taxes, and I don't want my taxes to go to that. And you can't like earmark where your money goes, but um yeah. Like what is it? They bring in like 5 trillion, let's just say. I think it's projected that between 4 and 5 trillion that they'll bring in from our income taxes and from Social Security and Medicaid or Medicare, we pay into that. Um, and like some other taxes that, dude, I just had it. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, here it is. It was right on the first page. So we bring in 4.9 trillion.
Hmm.
This was as of 2024. The federal tax revenue is 4.9 trillion. 2.3 comes from individual income taxes. That's what we pay on April 15th. Then payroll taxes, Social Security and Medicare is 1.5 trillion that the government gets. That is taken from our paychecks. Then corporate income taxes, 500 billion. And then excise taxes, which is like on gas, alcohol, tobacco, airline tickets, is 100 billion. They get 90 billion from duties and tariffs, and then estate and gift taxes is 30 billion. So our 4.9 trillion that we bring into the government, we're always going to be operating in a deficit because I think the federal operating budget for this year was like 7 trillion. So it's a deficit of like 1.2 or 1.7 or something crazy like that. And if our debt is at 34 trillion, like we're not even close. We're not even close to paying down our our spending. So look, okay, here's the other thing. Key spending categories is Social Security. We pay approximately 1.5 trillion. Medicare is 900 billion. Medicaid, 600 billion. Defense and Homeland is approximately 1 trillion. Net interest on debt is 900 billion. And other mandatory discretionary spending is approximately 2.1 trillion. So, dude, our budget is not coming down. Even if we cut all of those things, we would have to do that. We would have to cut everything like for 4 years to get 34 trillion down. But what I found out is it doesn't really matter how much debt you're in, but it's your debt to GDP ratio that matters. So that's why this economy stuff is so real because dude, it's just because GDP is what everything that we put into like the consumer, like what we consume. In America, we consume a lot, and that helps our debt ratio, our GDP to debt ratio.
I also heard that we could, since we put our own money, we could get ourselves out of debt. But if we did that, then our GDP, our US dollar when worth would be lower and lower.
Yeah, it
So
we
that's why we don't um print ourselves out of debt. Also, the more we pay, the more we pay out our try to pay our deficit, the more we still go in debt because we're spending more than we have every fiscal year. So when they do the audit and during the fiscal year, sure, we can cut whatever in billions and our what's the not APR, but what am I trying to say? Like
interest rate, interest rate.
our debt is 1 trillion, but our interest rate is like 1 billion. So we're paying, you know what I
Our
mean?
interest payments, yeah. Our,
Yeah, our
our
interest
interest
rate,
payments
yeah.
it's a lot.
So
Actually,
so last
actually, it's
year, so this year
900
right
billion.
now,
It's actually like 900 billion. That's
yeah, because
interest.
our debt right deficit is 1.3 trillion, and it was 1.06 last year. But yeah,
So
we still
it's
got to
like
pay income. The interest rate is a billion.
so that's the thing. It's like, you know, the 900 billion, like that's a lot to pay out.
So we
And people
can
are saying,
pay
wait, wait,
that
real quick.
off, and then not the trillion part.
900 billion, but that's close to a trillion. That's 1 trillion. But wait, our 900
But
billion.
you're not making a dent even with all the if you make the cuts and everything. You're just paying off the 900 billion, plus you're adding on whatever we spend out during that whole fiscal year because we're still
Right. So that's
buying
what I'm
shit.
saying. With all these cuts, we actually need to increase revenue. Like we need to either tax the rich, tax the wealthy, increase some of these taxes, like I mean, the tariffs, what he's trying to do, but that doesn't work when you don't have manufacturing plants. Like that doesn't like the tariffs have never worked. And that's just not going to work. But we need to do things that increases revenue, and that comes with taxing people. Or I was thinking even maybe increasing some of the taxes on like, I don't know, alcohol and tobacco and some of the more like luxury items that wealthy people can afford, like certain things like that. Even the corporate income taxes, like they should increase it a little bit. They could get so much more money because just cutting all these entitlement programs is not going to get us out of debt. It's not. You know what I'm saying? And they say that like when we have supposedly people think, oh, if our budget is balanced, like I think people think we're going to get money back or something. It doesn't work like that. Like government is supposed to reinvest it in like infrastructure or education, or things like that to help your working class to thrive so that they can get money so they can spend into the GDP so they can consume more. So that's why I'm like, okay, all these companies, if you're not taking care of your people to where they could pay money, because they really just spend the money back into the economy. Like when we get it, there's very few people who save or invest. They're spending it, you know? So
Gotta get them Jordans.
yeah, it would be smart of them to make sure that the working class is cool, because if our GDP is higher than our debt, we're still going to be a stable economy. And that's why, and like there's other countries who has like higher debt than, wait, actually we have the highest debt, but our debt to GDP ratio is, we're like in a great place compared to other countries. But we do have more debt, but we also have a high GDP. We spend a lot of money. So that's why it is a good idea for people to have money. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why it is to invest in making investments in education, making investments in people's health. Because if you don't have people that are healthy, they can't work, they can't produce, they can't buy. So that's why Republicans, okay, so in the modern times, the only presidents that had us operating in a surplus was Bill Clinton. He operated in a
Yeah,
surplus.
2001. Only
Yeah,
1 year.
4 years. He did it for 4 years.
No, 1 year.
What?
We only had a surplus in 2001.
Okay, I thought it was 4 years, but he operated in a surplus. Obama, his second term, he got us into out of a in a surplus. And Republicans, they're the ones who constantly are adding to our economy, are adding to our deficit or to the debt. And they're saying, oh, we're fiscally responsible and all this stuff. And they're really not, but I know that, Trump, he has increased our debt more than any president in both of his terms. And so why people think he's great with the economy, I have no clue. I'm still trying to figure that part out. So let me try to find that. Because like I think when it was something like when Reagan was in office, our debt was like 900 billion. And now it's at 34 trillion. But in Trump's defense, we did have COVID and they had to do the stimulus, things to keep our economy afloat.
Plus inflation, that was a different time. Things cost different.
Yeah. But so all I'm saying is
What you saying?
balancing the budget is a good idea, but it's not necessary. We're not in a bad place as a country. Except for those interest payments are hitting. And I can't remember if it was 900 billion. I think it's a month, right? Is it a month? Is it like, because it's like a credit card,
Yeah, it was like a credit card.
you know? So our federal government um is running it up. They are running it up, boy. Oh, I just wanted to find this one. Like, oh, here it is. Okay, so in 1980, Reagan, the national debt was 900 billion. He added, and oh, it was 900 billion, and then it went to 2.7 trillion. Big tax cuts, increased military spending, and the start of deficit spending as normal. First time America began running trillion-dollar debt totals. 2000s, post 9/11 and wars. Tax cuts, Bush era, Iraq, Afghanistan wars. Homeland security spending surged. 2008 financial crisis hit hard. Debt jumped from 5.6 trillion in 2000 to 10 trillion by 2008. 2008, 2009, the Great Recession bailouts, massive stimulus, bank bailouts, auto bailouts, Federal Reserve printed money and lowered interest rates to historic lows. Um, oh, so that's where that was. Yeah, that's the when it jumped to 10 trillion. And then in 2020, 2021, COVID pandemic, this was the largest single jump in US debt ever in such a short time. Emergency relief stimulus, unemployment, small business aid, the PPP loans, economic slowdown, the debt jumped from 23 trillion to 30 trillion in under 3 years. And that was when Trump was president. I mean, there was
Can
a
you
lot
like
that
cite your
happened.
sources?
I can
I
start.
thought about that the last one. I was like, shit, I got that from Google AI.
Yeah.
But Google AI got it from
I mean, a lot of the sources that I go
it's
to,
on the government site websites.
yeah, is Reuters, Associated Press, uh, Market Watch. It's just a lot of different places that I source from. But yeah, man. So like this stuff is really interesting. And people, I think when they get a grasp of what's really happening, they'll relax a little bit. But all I'm saying is cutting spending in the way that Elon is doing it is absolutely not doing much. That's why I was in the beginning like I was like he said he was going to cut 2 trillion, but he only got 160 billion because it's not doing anything. That's all I'm saying.
I think
I rest my case.
and I'll just say this. I think it's hard to I think common sense isn't common when you hate someone. It's hard for me to listen to even economists talk about, you know, what Elon and Trump and are doing when they hate these people. So I believe in facts
So do I.
and common not well I guess common sense and proper hypothesis, but not with feelings. And I hate
It's not feeling
when
when
the
you're based
economists like say certain things and with hate, it just it makes it hard to believe them.
oh, so it turns you off. Yeah. No, I can
Yeah.
see that. I get it. I totally understand.
Because they know more than me. I don't know.
Right.
It's not like I went to school for this, but some of those people did go to school for this, but they
Yes.
could easily just be like, because I don't like how Elon went about trying to uh I guess let go of all these employees, I'm just gonna talk shit and just use my degree and my knowledge to, make this sound like it doesn't work because I don't like this guy, as opposed to somebody saying these tariffs ain't gonna work because blah 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 blah. And you know what I'm saying? It makes it hard
Well,
to believe
yeah.
you, or as the common American who's not educated in that field to listen to you when you talk with hate. I just can't. I want to listen, but I can't get down when you got malice in your voice.
Right. And that's how
That's
we
the only thing. It sucks
yeah, yeah. No,
because I don't know if you're telling the truth or not. You know, they could throw the numbers out. You can throw your statistics, your hypothesis, your in the next 4 years, 3 years, whatever. Okay, cool. You got a degree in economics, whatever. Cool. That I get that, but when you talk the way not you, but like when they talk the way they talk, it's just like I want to believe you, but man, you got so much hate. I
Yeah.
can't. I don't want to listen. I don't want to listen to it.
Yeah, no, I feel that because it's hard to but for those kind of people, I don't know who you're listening to, but it might be hard for them to speak rationally or calmly or at peace because if they look at their 401k in the last couple weeks, it's tanked. And so people are upset because this man made terrible policy decisions. Like tariffs are, it's historically known that tariffs have not helped any situation. And he inherited a beautiful economy and tanked it on purpose. And his policies just aren't great. And so a lot of people are upset about it. But I feel you of how people talk about others or, in their delivery. Like with Trump, every time he tweets, he's like the crazy on Easter. He was like the crazy lunatic liberals and the loony, like he always calls people's names and it's corny. Like you're the president. Like, come on. But at this point, it doesn't matter because he's not presidential. He's not anything that we've ever had before in America. So it is
I
hard.
agree with that.
Yeah, it is hard to have respect for people when they're talking crazy. So it goes both ways. And that's why a lot of people hate him because he's disrespectful. But that just shows us. I mean, people, it's hard to receive from people who are disrespectful, hateful, rude, ignorant, because that's all it comes off as. So if he had a different approach, I'm sure Trump and Elon would be much better. Ooh, that was a deja vu moment. I don't know why, but that just was very deja vu-ish. But anyways, I feel like we've been talking for 2 hours. I'm not keeping track of time, and I probably should be. But this was a great show. There was a lot.
No, it was only an hour and 30 minutes.
Ooh, Lord. Yeah, that's long. So yeah. Well, if you guys are still here, thank you for listening. You have any less words?
You could always put it on times 5 on the speed or
Oh, I know. But
on the
I talk
playback.
fast. I already talked super fast. So
Well, then, put it on times 3 then,
it'll be like, but yeah, no. But thank you for listening and thank you for speaking with me today, Bishop.
Remember, do your research, think for yourselves, don't go with the hive, have the hive mind and, you know, leave the hate on the floor.
Yeah, and the facts are out there for
And the
all.
facts are out there.
Thank you. We out.